I hate the idea of taking my house with me on vacation and having to clean it myself. That's my problem with an RV.
You haven't cleaned in a while? Is that what you're saying? You don't clean by yourself anymore?
Oh, that's what happens.
I've got people.
That's what
I
we're
got people
all
for that.
striving for. I guess, Scott, that's what you and I are striving for.
I'm hoping to never clean again.
You and I are trying to not clean again. Brent gets tired of cleaning a 300 square foot apartment. And Chad has not touched a broom since he sold Jump. So
Hey,
we're good here.
Hey, fun fact, we actually fired our house cleaner recently. So she wasn't doing a very good job. So we're looking for another one.
Oh, no! What are we going to do?
Great. Everyone hates us now.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we could definitely.
First thing I bought in my RV was a broom, just to let everybody know.
How very tidy of you.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Speaking of keeping things tidy, let's go. You guys ready?
Oh, baby.
I'm ready.
All right. I had 4 cans of Coke Zero yesterday, and the caffeine's still wearing off, so let's do this. Welcome back to Cereal for Lunch, the podcast that hits harder than your Series A board meeting. I'm your host, Zach Oates, and joining me at the founders table today, we've got Brett Larson, the creator and instigator of this whole thing, and founder extraordinaire. We got Chad Ingram, who has built up companies higher than my hair, and Scott Smith, who is basically like a human Swiss Army knife for startups. Brett, unfortunately, couldn't join us. He had to go
I'm
volunteer.
still here. You're thinking
Brett?
of Brandon. He's
the other
the
B.
other. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the other guy. Brandon couldn't join us because he had to do some cleaning at his vacation home in Spain. So, tough life, but we got Scott with us today. We're really excited. So on the menu, you guys ready to hear what we're going to talk about today?
Oh, boy.
We're going to talk about AI culture. Is it real or just marketing? We're going to talk about how OpenAI drops $6.5 billion on something. None of our startups. And finally, I want to talk about is coding dead. So first of all, team, let's buckle up, besties, because let's talk about this AI stuff. All right.
Hey, can we introduce Scott first?
Oh, Scott. Yeah, man. What's up?
We know him. We know him real well.
That's true. We know
Yeah.
him.
No one else does. I mean, there's a lot of people that didn't get that way, Scott.
Scott knows product. He knows startups. He was at Facebook. He's running Zeit. He is just like, but honestly, Scott is the guy that we talked about him last time on the podcast, where we were like, man, we wish Scott were here, which is pretty much what happens to me in every single conversation except date nights with my
Yeah.
And
even then sometimes.
Yeah. So, is that a good intro or do we need more?
No, that's perfect.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So excited to be
That's
here.
great.
All right, here we go. AI in company culture. Let's kick this off with something tying into last podcast. So a staggering 80% of executives say AI is critical to their business strategy, but 20% of frontline employees say they're empowered to use it. What does that mean? So basically, you got AI thinking in the boardroom, analog thinking in the trenches. How does AI become part of your company culture and not just something that you talk about in all hands, or you're just using the executive team?
I can jump in. So I think one of the things that we did at Zeit was we actually made a Slack channel called Build with AI. And literally anything that anyone builds or makes or updates or creates, we'll just either share like a video of how to do it or screenshots or code to explain and to show. And so actually I do it all the time so that actually people see that we actually do use this stuff as opposed to it just
like
sort
what's
of
an example?
Example would be, so I use a product called Replit all the time. And we make these SEO apps. So like when somebody searches for something on Google, they might find some keyword. They go to the page and you find like a converter from this file type to that file type. So I use Replit to create those, whereas in the past you'd have to like manually do it, actually write code. Now I can just like vibe code it away.
Yeah. Okay. So it says, make me a data tool for designers that helps scrape data from websites and social media. Dude, this is why have I never used Replit before? And so
Why have you never used Replit
use it,
before?
and then what do you do with it, Scott?
So basically like Replit, Lovable, a bunch of these AI generative tools, you can just type the app that you want and it will ask you follow-up questions until it makes it. And then you can publish it and use it. So like, whatever you can think of, you can make.
What's something that someone on your team has made that's pretty cool?
Oh, so a great example right now that's live on our website is we wanted to change our onboarding steps. And usually what we do is have engineering like update each page, all the designs. We used Lovable to come up with the design. We used Replit to come up with the actual like survey steps, onboarding process. And then we just like embedded it on the website and we redirect from our app so we can completely skip any of the normal onboarding flows. So instead of taking like weeks. Yeah.
Has it made all your engineers pissed? Are they angry that you guys can do their job now?
Well, it's just like the boring, lazy, easy stuff, easier stuff, lazier stuff, easy stuff that they don't want to do. I think it's like all the things that normally they'd push off.
Yeah. I like to tell my engineers when I've done something like that, be like, your job doesn't seem that hard to me. I don't know.
Yeah,
just kidding.
Just kidding. Doing podcasts.
No, I think
he does.
One of the
he
things
doesn't actually say that, but he might.
No, I don't actually say. Yeah, part of me, like for me, it's. I think the measurement of like to operationalize AI to what's the question you asked, Zach? Like how are you
what are your
building it into the culture?
Is it like a real thing? How do you get people using AI?
I think I don't. We're using it a lot, but I still don't feel like we're using it enough. And I feel like there's an efficiency measurement, whatever output you're designed to deliver for the organization. Like all of a sudden you can accelerate and be 10 times. That sounds like played, but like if you're using it correctly, you really can. I think Chad mentioned this last week. Every one of my engineers are using Cursor. It turns.
Which, by the way, thank you, because I found out that all of my engineers are using Cursor too. I was like, "What's Cursor?" And then, boom.
So I don't know. I think it's more. How do you measure efficiency? And I think it's getting loud about it organizationally, celebrating it.
Like, what does that mean, though? So I love that example that Scott gave of like an actual Slack channel. Like, how do you celebrate it?
We do in our weekly all hands, we have an AI corner. Like we have one person who's assigned to highlight how they're using it, what they've done with it, like to teach the rest of the team, like, hey, I'm using it to achieve this.
Oh, that's a good idea.
To provide tips or tricks. Again, I think we mentioned this last week, but the CEO of Spotify came out and was like, no more hiring unless you can just until you can show me you can't get this done using AI. I think the hard part is most people think, we said this last week, but AI and ChatGPT or Claude or whatever model are synonymous, and that's not. Like those are generative AI. There's a whole bunch of other tools and ways to connect that to workflows that can speed up the output.
Yeah. So Chad, I mean, it's kind of interesting because Brett and Chad have both built big companies and now they're back to like a smaller company. I think Scott and I kind of have these medium-sized companies that are growing in terms of like people. So Chad, starting from the beginning with a smaller team, how are you instilling the AI culture into your team?
It's kind of interesting. Like, I think some of it is happening organically, not necessarily that I'm like leading out on this effort. I think that I'm hiring people that are wanting to naturally do things faster, and so they're using tools more quickly. I think I said this or mentioned something along these lines in our last episode that like we will look for the people who are most interested in utilizing AI. Like just yesterday, I had an experience where I hopped on a one-on-one, and a team member who's not technical at all tells me that they were waiting on an engineer to build or fix something on our website, and something marketing related. And she went ahead and just did it anyway herself, given that she had access to our login, and she was able to literally edit the code and using ChatGPT. Nobody asked her to do that. So I don't know. It's not a very good tactical answer. I'd like to say that I led out on this really big effort, but I feel like it's more cultural for us around speed and learning and like poking the box and messing with things.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of a natural effect. So I'm seeing that more and more. I'd like to see more of it. I do really like Scott. You know, Scott always has these like really cool tactical things that we can do. So I love the Slack channel. Um, but I think one thing I typically will do, like when somebody says that they've done something new with it or tried something, I will always stop and highlight and ask them what they did. Um, you know, because for a lot of these people, it's like it's really new. You know, it's new to even think about how to implement this thing. You know, or like,
And I think that's
yeah,
so important too, like that you are not just saying, "Oh, AI is important," but also doing things that are going to encourage them to do it, right?
yeah,
Like, like if I think about early in my marriage when I was changing diapers for the first time, and my wife like made some comment about how like I wasn't changing diapers the right way. So I was like, "Okay, great, you change the diapers," you know. And it's kind of like, how, what are we doing intentionally or unintentionally at times that's getting people to use it correctly or incorrectly? I could think about how I made a mistake a little while ago when someone on my team used AI to write an email, and the client wrote back and said, forwarded me the email and said, "Hey, are you having, do you have people or robots that are working for you?" And so I kind of reamed this guy, right? But I shouldn't have. I think it was an opportunity to
you
do
know,
some learning and digging, as opposed to being like, "Hey, slap on the wrist, don't do this."
so right, there's also counterfeits to using AI. So I'm glad you brought that up because just as you were starting to talk about this, I was literally thinking about like even before you brought up this email example, I was thinking about the problems where we're like leading AI improperly. Like, you know, sales guys, for example, you know, or salespeople in general can tend to have a stereotype of being a little faster, less inclined on details, and like, you know, so there's this big problem of utilizing AI and using it too quickly and not monitoring it, like email correspondence, right? We could go as fast as prompt, copy and paste, stick it in an
Mm.
email, send. You still have to read it. You still have to proofread it. You still have to skim it. Like it, yes, it is possible it made a mistake, right? Like this happens. And so, you know, there's a whole other conversation of where we're using AI improperly. So, and there are times even for me, like I'm busy and there are some emails that make more sense for me to compose.
It
Just
seems
is what
kind
it
of like
is.
the collective theme though is discovery and sharing. So like Zach who talks to his wife, Brett who has like a weekly AI corner. I have a Slack channel. The customer forwarded the email so Zach could see it. It's like if you work in AI in the dark and have no way to health check or see how you're doing, you can't improve. So I feel like there also needs to be a
Yeah.
feedback loop.
Well, we're all about feedback here, but I think one of the things that's really crazy is OpenAI. I was actually pretty surprised at this number. $6.5 billion, right? So the question is that a waste of money, or is Apple screwed because they bought it? This is a search and AI computing company called Rockset, right? Why did they buy this?
This
Why
is
what is
this
this?
is Johnny Ives' company.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I think Sam Altman's a co-founder,
Yeah,
right?
that's
He
uh-huh.
I so I, this the headline 6.5 billion, but they got a 25% discount, so it wasn't 6.5 billion. It's uh but it's still a lot of money. Um I think that I mean, and the big aha or the big unveil, which they haven't unveiled, is it's a new form factor. So I think the question is like, what's the form factor? And I mean, Apple took a hardware first and software approach. It's been interesting to watch OpenAI take basically software first, and now they're adding hardware. And it was 18 months ago that Altman was in Dubai or something raising money for what people thought was a new iPhone form or a new phone form factor. So I think they're trying to get on every person's person, right? Like they're trying to find ways to build more context for their models. And what better way to do that than to slap a device on a human being that's constantly recording and watching and listening and
But do
you
people
know
want that? Like, how do you spend $6.5 billion on something that when I look at that, I'm like, who is ever going to do
No
that?
one
Now,
even knows
granted,
what they
I said the
bought.
same thing about Twitter, right? Like,
No one even knows what no one even knows what they bought yet, right? Like
Right.
they don't have a
Right.
product out in the open.
I think
But
there's been
again,
some
if you look at, sorry, Scott, if you look at the competitive advantage, each of these models are going to reach an asymptote because they're all training off the same data, right? Like the open web. Who has real life data to train off of? I mean, Apple, but their models, they haven't, like, if they suck. Amazon doesn't have devices that people actually want to use.
yeah.
Google is the closest thing, but they're
They're
not a
so distracted. There's so many different things
hundred.
going on. I don't think,
They got to
but
figure out search first, right? Like, and so, like, I think about the amount of data. If it's a device that people want to use and like adds value, um, I think it's an enormously interesting way
are
to
are you going to
aggregate more
carry
data.
another device though, Brett? Are you going to
I
carry
think
another
it's
device?
probably I think it's probably a
A
pair of glasses.
necklace? Like, I don't get it.
No, I think it's probably a pair of glasses. I mean, when they released the Rabbit device, you guys remember seeing that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like they had a large
It
action model, which I think
it
was
looked
just
like the one of those help I fallen I can't get up pendants, right?
100%. And I was like, I would put it into my phone. I already carry that. I don't want to carry something else. If it's glasses or something that like can just be there, I actually think, and
Can we
Johnny Ive
request?
is really good at design.
Can we make a request for Scott to put on his glasses before he makes his next comment?
I
I
was
know
gonna
he's
say,
caught up.
like, I'm the guy here who has the glasses. I wear those glasses, and they're too big. People are weird about them because they have lenses on them. I feel like I have to carry around my glasses, my AirPods, my keys, my watch, my phone. I think for me, like, the way I look at it is that they're just trying to figure out a way to get away from the Apple ecosystem. Like, they're locked in with software to a phone that they don't control or own. When I was at Facebook, we were always afraid that, Google App Store or the Apple App Store were going to block and kick us off for various reasons, or they were going to remove our ability to do app or ad tracking, which they eventually did. But I suspect there's a big part of this where it's like, we need to get away from Apple. We need to be independent. But also, I don't want to own yet another device. I have too many devices.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing, right? From their letter, they said, we gathered together the best hardware and software engineers, the best technologists, physicists, scientists, researchers, and experts in product development and manufacturing. Many of us have worked closely for decades. As IO emerges with OpenAI, Johnny and Loveform will assume deep design and creative responsibility for OpenAI and IO. I mean, like, so like they're just putting together a team and like, I guess enough monkeys are going to write Shakespeare with a typewriter, right? But like, is that the
It's
thing?
vibe,
It's like,
vibe engineering.
yeah, right. Like, put
You
all
guys
these smart people in a jar, shake them up, and then like, hopefully a new device comes out. I don't want another thing. I'm in the Apple ecosystem. You're not pulling me away.
I don't know if it can add enough value.
Yeah.
I'm also an Apple guy. Like I, but if it can add enough value, like think about like, okay, so when you're using one of these large language models, it's only as good as the context you give it. That, like, period. If you don't give it any context, it is crap. It's not any good, right? No, but you have to give it context every single time manually. I have to keep a
But to your
folder
point,
that I'm
listen,
delivering. Sure,
right?
but I don't think the iPhone is designed to be constantly listening and gathering context. You still have to manually turn it on. And I'm not sure what they're actually building. But as an aside, did you guys watch the launch video of that or the announcement video? It was like it was
Which
a beautiful
announcement video?
bromance, set
Oh,
in
of the two.
Johnny Ive and Sam Altman
Yeah, there's just like
following.
10 minutes of them slowly walking towards each other
Yeah,
and then hanging out
it's
in a bar together.
talking about how impressed they are with each other. I threw up on my mouth a little bit.
That's cute. I'm gonna watch that.
But
I'm gonna watch
I do think like one of my common frustrations with using these models is I will feed it all the context for a specific conversation, but then once you're I haven't even counted, but so far into the conversation, the quality starts to degrade pretty rapidly because you've inserted other thoughts or ideas and all these things are happening and it becomes less and less useful. And so if you can if they can get more data to train on and automatically add the context for you, I think there's an interesting value proposition to be
Well,
had. And I think if the value is big enough, people will carry around another device or they'll change their device altogether.
Yeah, like I would love to
Yeah.
see AirPods and this device become an OpenAI headset and device, because this is on my desk right now. I would totally go to them to give them all the context they need. Sorry, Chad.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess
No,
if
that's
it were
true.
replacing a device, right? Like to your point, AirPods, a ring, like something that if it was replacing a device, I would do it. I will add no new. Hear me. I will add no new devices.
Hey, when
to
he
my-
does, can we shame him or do
Absolutely.
something?
Yeah,
I
a
don't
whole
know.
episode.
I will replace. Look, I got a bracelet. I got a ring. I got a necklace. Like I got AirPods. I have things that I can swap out. But like when I got my Tesla, I dropped my keys. I don't carry keys around anymore. I don't have house keys. I don't have my,
But he does
I
have
have
RV keys.
but I don't carry. But I don't carry them with me, right?
You should.
Anyway, Chad, what do you
So,
think? Are you
well,
getting a new device? Are you on board this train? That's
Well,
going to
so I have
crash and
conflict-
burn and $6.5 billion lost.
It was on paper. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah, yeah. I have a lot of thoughts on this that, like, as an Apple shareholder, I love that we're deeply entrenched in using Apple products. I love that we're addicted to Apple products, and it is difficult to strip them away. However, we've seen almost no innovation for 5 or 6 years from Apple. They make a beautiful device. Its operating system is perfect, but it's not innovative anymore. And so there is some risk there, because one of the most irritating things using an Apple device is its AI. It's not good. It is not good compared to what else is available. And you have a company who's focused entirely on AI, which is OpenAI, and a few others that are very good, that are very helpful, that rarely make mistakes. And where with Siri, I'm having to reprompt it all the time. And there is a big opportunity there that if they can figure this out, I think that users would jump. So there's some challenges I think that Apple has along the way.
By the
Have
way,
you-
I
but
really
have you
want to
actually
push
researched-
back, though. Hold on. I really want to push back because you said Apple
Sure.
doesn't innovate anymore. This September, they are coming out with an iPhone, but it's thinner. Yeah.
But hold on.
Huh?
Wait. It is the best iPhone yet, actually.
Yeah, the
But it's
best iPhone.
thinner.
Actually, this one isn't. This one's actually slower, worse battery, but it's thinner. And we all know 2025, thin is back in. So,
We can body shame again too.
Ozempic! All right,
just
Brett,
want
sorry,
to
I
bring
had to
back the
interrupt you because I thought that was a really
Motorola.
important.
I was
note.
actually going to say the very same thing. Yeah. So
This is perfect.
Okay, well, by the way, we got a couple minutes left here. I really want to talk about this last thing. Any other thoughts on this battle between device and AI? Okay.
Which battle's that?
Just that's the battle.
Oh,
the battle is between
oh.
good and evil. So let's wrap this up with the spicy one. You ready? Is coding dead? GitHub Copilot and tools like Replit and GPT-4 are like when you look at it's now doing over 46% of developer code. At some companies, it's over 60%. So coding, is it like an entry level job? Is it going the way of the junior copywriter? Is this like worthwhile? Should my kids be learning coding, or is that like learning stenography? What's going to happen with coding?
Did he say stenography?
So like, I think one area that is pretty obvious to me, at least, is just like ChatGPT, when I ask it to help me with an email, I have no idea what's going on in the background. With like Replit and Lovable, I can create a beautiful website. I can create the HTML. I can create the code. I can even like build infrastructure. But I don't know if it's secure. I don't know if it's scalable. I think there's a bunch of questions yet to be determined, where when I do use these tools, they're incredible. They really do help articulate like what I want to see. But a lot of the like solopreneurs, guys who are building like the first version of their product, I think it's more like quick ideation. And then when you get more serious and there's SOC 2 and all the security stuff, I think that's an area where you do need the engineers because you need to understand the code. You need to understand what's behind it. I'm sure that'll
Today,
change. Yeah, exactly.
today, right? I mean, like as these problems arise, it introduces opportunities for new models, right? Like a infosec model to be applied to make you SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. To, I mean, it's super interesting. I think there still will be a need for software engineers as pilots, right? Like our role as these AI's unlocked access to knowledge and knowledge execution, and like, but left alone today, most of the time it veers off into a direction that's largely wrong, or not right. And like our role is to become arbiters of quality and accuracy. And so to correct the model, like as I've used stuff more and more, like I've started using it for minor coding things as I'm trying to patch together different tools to talk to each other. It's pretty amazing. I'm not an engineer. No one wants me in their code, but it's pretty amazing to ask it to instruct you step by step how to accomplish something. Um, I built an automation for one of our operational things a few weeks ago, and I went to my engineers, was like, "Is this how you feel all the time?" Because I feel this is incredible. I feel like the smartest man alive, and they all just kind of looked at me like, "You're
Like
an
when you get
idiot."
a really good Excel formula that you've been
Yes.
working, like a double nested index match, like, oh
Oh man,
yeah.
pivot tables. Yeah. No, but like I do, I think it. I don't think coding is dead yet. But as these models become more and more, I hate even calling them intelligent, but aware and intuitive, right? Like it can infer and intuit what it is that you're actually looking for. I think the role of an engineer changes dramatically, right? Because
Are you telling your kids to get into engineering?
I think not being able to write code for my kids' generation is going to be like us being illiterate, not being able to read. Um, so I'm not telling them to be software engineers, but I feel like knowing how to code, at least at a high level, is a literacy thing.
Do you guys
Interesting.
remember the movie Interstellar? The whole premise is that
Yeah.
basically the world created too much stuff. They had too many engineers and not enough farmers. And so everybody became farmers that couldn't get into college. I'm not saying that's how it's going, but I know I've heard a bunch of AI leaders talk about, for example, like HVAC, plumbing, electrical, because those are super specialized areas that like robots will have to be built to get them in. You know, climbing under your house, for example, how long that's going to take, being able to adjust or improve or update a junction box, be a lineman. I think there's a lot of things that I'm excited about. Installing solar, there's just not enough electricians. So I see like an interesting, you know, there's a huge
Yep.
opportunity for both super technical coders and non.
There'll still be problems to be solved, right? Like, will it be coding or will it be actual engineering? Like, I don't mean that coding is not engineering, but I kind of, one of the big questions I've had over the last few weeks, especially, is like, what happens? I think for a time we'll see a lot of people going back to trade, like
Yep.
electricians, plumbers, construction, right? Until, I mean, in China, they have robots building entire bridges in a fraction of the time that it takes, and like sound like so how long does it take before we have a robotic plumber, right? Someone that come like a robot that comes to your house that gets deployed to do your plumbing, or till Optimus, we have everyone has an Optimus in their house and it has a plumbing skill, or you subscribe to a plumbing skill set. It just I wonder where I think we've been moving into a subscription economy. I think this accelerates it. You'll subscribe to less and less people will own vehicles. You'll subscribe to a ride share. Less people can afford homes, so you're subscribing to your house. Less people will be like you'll subscribe to a robot that you might share with your neighbors. I don't know. It's kind of scary to think about. But I also think it opens the door for new innovation.
So what does that mean? Like,
Yeah.
so Chad, thinking about the fact that you are you're building this startup and there's such a question of the future, especially in light of the fact like you're selling human labor, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, like legally and ethically, of course, but just like the fact that people come to you to make hires. How do you think about the future and these changes that maybe they're coming in 6 months, maybe they're coming in 2 years, maybe it's like Tesla fully autonomous and it's coming in 1 year for the last 11 years? Like what do you think?
So I think as with everything, there's a lot of like philosophical arguments to make here, but one is the right sizing of the labor market in the technical space in
Wait, by the
particular.
way, is there a fire alarm going off?
I heard geese before.
Okay,
Is
was
that through
anyone
my
else
mic?
hearing a fire alarm? I'm like, do you need to go, Chad? Are you okay? You're like,
I
no, it's an
I
ethical argument, but no, it's okay, Mr. Firefighter. Just I'm finishing a
if
podcast.
if you guys are aware of my life being in danger and I'm not, please let me know,
I
and
know.
I
Well,
will
that's why
move.
I wanted to interrupt and just
My
Okay,
view
sorry.
right
Go
now is
ahead. I
great.
lost you
My
at the house was burning.
looking at palm trees and a beautiful golf course. So everything looks okay right now. But so back in 2021, it was for
Do you
every
smell smoke?
no, I don't smell smoke right now. For every one computer science graduate, there was 10 open roles. Um, a huge lopsidedness to the job market in engineering. And so I think what we're experiencing now, and I don't have a lot of data to back this up, um, but I feel like I could get it in my gut sense. I feel like is right, that we're now starting to experience this sort of like equilibrium on jobs to uh, talent, and so I think that will change over time, though. That talent in particular, companies and startups, growth companies in particular, where previously maybe if they had a 500 headcount company, they would have required 150 to 200 engineers. That's now going to require 50 to 75. Okay, just as an example. I think that is going to be the case. So that job's going to shift. Now, there's lots and lots of jobs out there that are also going to be shifting. Frontline roles are also shifting. So a lot of these like individual contributor, junior type roles are shifting. So many of those, and I do have data to back this up, are already going overseas. And so we're seeing more and more people apply to thought working jobs. And so the average number of applicants per job is increasing significantly. So there's a lot of shifting that's going to happen. But more philosophically, I don't think that it's going to be so cold turkey. I think it will take decades for this to really, really hurt humans,
Yeah.
because
I mean,
a lot of us are like restaurants, for example. Like somebody has to serve this food, and to have robotics replace that is very like uh, I don't know, a juvenile perspective today. But
I don't
eventually
know. I
we
disagree.
will have, well, eventually we will have robots that will do it and produce a good experience. So, because, for example, robotics has to be cheaper than humans in order for us to do this. And right now they're not. So, not in every
no,
case.
but
So,
I
there's really cool things happening with AI though. Like for
yeah,
example, with food delivery. I was talking with one of my investors about a food delivery startup that he just invested in, and he's like, "What if you can order your food to get delivered? It's cheaper than DoorDash. It's faster than going to pick it up, and it just gets delivered to your doorstep." He's like, "That is not 5 years away. That that for some restaurants is like this year."
yep,
I mean, like
yep,
it's pretty crazy to see how AI and robotics and technology is changing everything from top down, even the food industry. But it's one of those things where the problem is that people come out too quickly with something that doesn't work. And then that is forever branded as something that's bad, right? I mean,
yeah,
look at Google Glass. How long has it taken us to get from what Google Glass was supposed to be to where we're at today, right? We're back in like Meta glasses are cool, but come on, that was like supposed to be 5 years before Google Glass, and Google Glass is nowhere. I mean, it's dead.
Bunch of glass holes. Uh, a few things. One, Microsoft did 6,000 employee layoff worldwide, 3% of their entire workforce. What they didn't say was AI was taking those jobs. But to the comment earlier, 40% of those that like in Washington, there were 2,000 jobs were software engineering jobs, right? I disagree with Chad. I think the future footprint of a fast food restaurant is one employee who stocks the machines that automate the manufacturing of the food for the person, whether they're driving through or not. I drove through a place this morning. I'm in Tennessee, and a robot took my order. I like it, like just the voice. It was not a human, and it was actually a really crappy experience. I was like, I had a
That's my
question,
point.
and it.
That's my point. Like it's not
No, that's my point.
it's not ready.
No. I think this is
No, it's
Scott's
not
point.
ready yet.
We can all agree this is Scott's point.
It's not
No,
ready
so
yet.
I could.
This is super interesting because like yesterday I went to the mall, I bought my food, and there was a kiosk. And then after my order was ready, this little person came out and was like, "Okay, I'm going to start making your food." So I think there's clearly like if I go to a great restaurant, so one of my favorite restaurants is in Utah at Sundance. I go every couple years with my family, and the food is incredible. It's a great experience, and I think they have a chef and somebody who comes out
Wendy's?
and talks to you. Yes,
I
but
think they closed that one.
Wendy comes out herself.
yeah, Wendy, yeah, exactly. But like you know,
Wendy.
you know you're gonna have this incredible quality, incredible experience, great garnish. But like if I go to McDonald's or In-N-Out or some fast food place where they have 5 options, I'm totally cool if it's speed, reliability, quality control by robots. I think it's a totally different
I
thing. I
agree.
think one's an experience.
Because the biggest thing I will tell you this, specifically in restaurants, and this is business across the board, but in restaurants there's a lot of data to back this up. It's about consistency. I'm okay paying more, but I want to make sure that it's the same thing, every time. And humans don't do that.
Yeah,
Well, I think
yeah.
whenever you're paying for something, I think we're typically paying for an experience, right? Like if you go to McDonald's, you're going to pay a certain amount and you're paying for that experience. Like you go there because it's not great food, but it's a consistent experience, right? Versus the restaurant Scott's referring to, he's willing to pay more. I'm guessing it's not a Wendy's,
It's
and
bushy.
and it's Gucci. Wow, I didn't know they made food. Right, but you pay for partially it's for the experience. I just it's gonna be. I think a lot of the things we do today in the next 7 years, like driving a car, like, oh, you still drive your own car? That's really cool.
It's like manual.
How
Like, there's gonna
crafty
be
of
people
you,
who do it.
right? Like, like that's so
So
cool. What's
yeah,
that like? It's
So
like
so cute.
I've got a
everyone,
couple thoughts on
yeah.
this. Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
first to be clear,
Chad
I'm
raised
not
his hand.
saying that. Yes, thank you. I didn't want to interrupt anybody, but I guess raising my hand is an interruption. So, but to be clear, I do think
You're so polite.
these things will be uh, like disrupted. It will be changed. It will move to robotics. What I'm saying is it's going to take longer than we realize because it has to be cheaper than a human and it has to be a better experience. And so right now, if we were to produce a true robot that can shift around a kitchen, produce something, drop it on a counter and give it to somebody, I mean that robot's going to cost 100 to $150,000. And I'm just estimating, but I know that robotics is the next wave of even VC. VCs are looking at it very, very closely, and we haven't nailed it. We nailed the brain, we got the intelligence, which we didn't, and robotics sort of got like forgot about in the early 2000s. We were kind of focused on building robots, but I do think that is the future because robotics will be figured out soon, and then we'll figure out how to make it better. And I believe this, like mark my words, I think that every family, just like you have a car, every family will have a robot, and every robot will have a VIN, and every robot it'll create a whole new financing industry. It'll create a whole new servicing industry. Like there will be mobile mechanics working on robots. Like I think that is the future. Every home and family will have a robot. So, and
I already have 2 robots.
Oh,
There you go.
I got a
Of course
vacuum
you do.
robot.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking
I got the
about
lawn mowing
I'm talking
robot.
about
Oh, in the lawnmower.
like a real Android life-size type robot that can grab things, move things, do things based on instruction, based on repeatability. I think that this is a real thing within the next 10 years. Pretty wild.
I'd give it maybe 30. I'm not a timelines with some of this like tech to be actually widely adopted, I think are just so difficult. But hey, who knows? I'd love to be proven wrong here. I'm not getting another device, but I will get a robot if it's
But
cooking
here's the
breakfast.
I think you already see it widely adopted or being widely adopted in the commercial space. You know what I mean? Like they have
Mhm.
robots that scale infrastructure to check on quality. You have robots that are in our neighborhood. There's DoorDash is piloting a robot delivery thing. You see it driving back and forth on the main street. Um, they're already being like Elon Musk's production line at Tesla is largely robotics, and that's usually the first step, right? Like commercial
But we've been there for
enterprises.
so long. We've been there for so long. Delivery
What
robots have been around for so long. I feel like the thing is like I feel like to get to that next level, right? We have progressed to a level where it's like this was hard to get to. The difference of getting to that next level is 30x harder than getting a delivery robot to drive down the street
Exactly, Zach.
and open up and get
Because
someone food.
yeah, because these robots that we're talking about, yes, I know they exist. I agree with that, but they do one thing and they do it really well. That's it. Like ours, what I'm talking about is something that's completely autonomous, like OpenAI, right? Like whatever you feed it, whatever prompts or instructions or whatever. I mean, that's what is going to take more time, but I feel like the economy is innovating in that direction very, very quickly. So
Well, we're
anyway,
gonna have to table this for another lunch because we have covered culture wars, billion-dollar AI bets, existential crisis of coding, robots, and if any of this hits a nerve or sparked an idea, do the thing. Like, subscribe, send this podcast to a founder friend who still thinks GitHub is a dating site because Cereal for Lunch is part of your balanced startup. Thanks, team.
yeah.
That's good. Dating site.
Dating.
Freaking robots, guys. Robots.
Here's an idea. I think with all this generative AI that's out there, I think that I actually want to bring this up, but then Zach cut us off. I think there's going to be a need for a credit system like verification process and your credit
China.
score. China. No, your credit score. It'll be like a reality based credit score where it's like this person or this news outlet or this because you can replicate like the new Google Veo 3 model is have you guys played with it at all? It's
Yeah,
wild.
it's insane.
It's you cannot tell it's not a real person. And so the ability for some hack like Chad to deep fake the president of the United States or someone else,
Personal
right?
attack.
Like,
Wow.
no, I mean, like
That seemed a
I
little
could
bit. That seemed
the
a little
stuff we
bit
can.
He didn't mean
circuitous,
it.
just
This
He didn't mean it.
I didn't. I love Chad. Yeah, I love him so much. But like, so how do you tell what's real and what's not? You guys remember like a few years ago there were like the false
Yeah.
claims that such and such celebrity had died and Twitter would go wild for a while. Like I think there needs to be a new credit-based system that is based on how trustworthy you are, right? But used by everyone, not just the financial institutions, to gauge whether or not you're fundable.
Brett, what you're describing literally exists in China. It's like exactly what China does.
Really?
They already
That's
do
pretty
this.
wild.
Like if you break rules, like they have cameras, the cameras will watch you jaywalk, and at the other side, they will say your credit score has gone down this much.
That's awesome.
No way.
Yeah, I mean, it could be.
It's
Also
like
pretty scary.
immediate karma for assholes.
Well, it could
Yeah, no,
be,
I don't like it.
or
It's too big
that
brother.
You
could
watch-
be-
Someone cuts you off and you're
Anyway.
yeah.
Okay, I gotta jump, but I also want to I got to jump to a different Riverside.
Wait. We don't just hang out all day. That's not what we do.
No,
Yeah, right?
yeah,
Wait,
Oh
unfortunately,
wait, can we
the
hit
actual
stop
where's the
recording so I
snacks?
can upload this?